This is a GoHAMradio.com exclusive.
Denzel wanted to call this press conference for San Diego's Free Press to get more acquainted with Monica Montgomery. She's the 4th District candidate for City Council. My name is Pamela Wood. I'm working with Denzel in the backdrop, helping him with this project. I produce a show called Social Hour that Denzel is on with me. And we're just going to go ahead and get started.
All right, first I want to thank everybody for coming out. I appreciate everybody in here. You didn't have to come, but you took the time to show that you cared for your community, so I appreciate you guys. First off, how you doing today?
I am doing good.
Good.
Doing good. We're 13 days out, so we're just working.
A little tired? You on the grind right now?
I'm on the grind, and yes, looking forward to getting some real rest, but
cool.
Not now.
Not now.
Not
Still
now.
More work to be done.
Yes, more work to be done.
So I'm going to jump right into it. I'm not going to hold everybody out here too long, so I just want to really highlight your attributes and things that you did in the community and then kind of touch on your campaign as well. So I want to jump into who you are and some of the morals that you have, things that you stand on, things you want to do in the community.
Yeah. Well, I'm a 30-year resident of District 4, so I grew up in the Paradise Hills area.
Okay.
And I went to Spelman College, so I was in Atlanta for a while, which really helped to shape me because I went there at 18 years old. So that was really an experience for me coming from San Diego to the South, and with all the history there, really being in touch with the roots of African American people here in this nation. And so came back and went to law school here, and have lived my adult life in Skyline, very close to here. And so that's, pretty much why we're here right now. It's because being in this community, I have seen, the ups and the downs and the type of leadership that we have had and the sacrifices that we have had to make to have a quality of life that other people take for granted. And so we can't have stagnation at that seat. It has to be advocacy. It has to be fight. And so that is why we're here. That's why we're here.
Now, as far as growing up in the 4th District, it's safe to say that you care about your community.
Yes.
And you did something a couple years back or a while ago where it was you did the expose for all the people trying to help them keep their homes when the market crashed. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when I passed the bar and went right into the legal industry, that's what I did. I helped community members save our homes from foreclosure. We know that the economic downturn really impacted Black people in particular, people of color, lower income people who have bought during the height of the economy and then found themselves with mortgages that they could not pay. And so that, was a lot of it was orchestrated, that market was. But we went into courts, filed temporary restraining orders against big banks to help homeowners have some leverage to come back to the table and renegotiate mortgages. So we did that. We did bankruptcy. Also done some civil rights litigation for people in San Diego. But back to your question, yes, doing an expose, that expose that you're talking about focused on first-time home buyers. Okay. And home ownership, which is really important in our community and in our country, really.
Okay. Also, I see that you're advocate for the equal contracting as well.
Yes.
So would that have something to do? I know your father was in contract, right?
Yep.
And construction, and your mother was a real estate broker.
Yes.
So it seems like you're helping out in both of those industries. Does that stem from your parents' history or background?
I definitely didn't plan it like that, but yes, it seems like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this came to me at one of these forums during this race. where did your inner activism come from? Where did your activism come from? And I'm thinking, you know what? I think it came from seeing my parents go through all that they did as Black entrepreneurs in San Diego, and having to also fight for things that other people take for granted, just being in business and having success in that way. So yes, my advocacy stems from that, economic justice. My mom is a real estate broker. My dad does own a construction company, and we, right now the city is at 0% contracts for architects, engineers, construction workers, and construction companies that are African American owned. So it tells us a lot about how hard it is to make it in San Diego. And so I'm very, very focused on giving everyone equal opportunity and equal chance to make it in this city and this county that we all pay taxes in. It is our right to have those, to take advantage of that opportunity like it is for everyone else.
Okay, cool. Another subject I want to touch is I know you're going to elaborate on a little bit of it, so feel free to.
Okay.
The criminal justice reform. Mm-hmm. I know you're an advocate for that as well. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us or educate us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, all of these things that we're talking about work together, so we can create a cycle of poverty intentionally for people of color, Black people in particular, and criminal justice. The current system is a big part of that, and it has been through our history. And the recent work that I've done is trying to help to reform the money bail system. Right now, the way the system works is the more money that you have, the easier it is for you not to go to jail, right? So it doesn't matter what you're charged with. Some people have been charged with, and I say charged, not convicted. There's a difference. But when people are charged, you go before a judge and are assigned an amount of bail to get out of jail. So if you have a lot of money, then you won't ever really do that time, or you won't ever really see a jail cell. If you do not, it could be for any type of charge, low level, it doesn't matter. And you will more than likely sit in a jail cell awaiting your trial when you have not been convicted of anything. And so it just goes to show how our systems perpetuate this cycle, of poverty. If someone goes to jail, they have a job, they can't go to their job, they lose their job, they end up losing their transportation, they can lose their home. Sometimes people lose custody of their children. Just
based off that arrest record, right?
Based off of being arrested, not being convicted.
And they make it difficult to get that off of your record as well.
That
aside
is
from
true.
Being convicted, just to get that off your name.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the ACLU. You are a senior advisor, I believe.
I'm full-time campaigning now, but my service at the ACLU is a criminal justice advocate. Okay. I was a senior policy advisor at the city of San Diego.
Okay, cool. And you did that in 2016. Was that before or after you not working with Myrtle Cole anymore?
So I went to the ACLU after
Okay.
I left my opponent's office.
Okay.
I was a senior policy advisor there on public issues of public safety, neighborhood revitalization, small business, youth services. And I left the day that she made her controversial comments about racial profiling.
Right.
Basically, paraphrasing, but that Black people deserve to be profiled because we commit the crimes. So I left that day and then ended up working for the ACLU maybe about a month or so after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you like it over there?
It's cool. It's good. We still have a lot of systemic changes to make. in our government and our nonprofits, everywhere that we go, and it's our job to speak up in the spaces that we are in to help to make those changes. It is really, in my mind, a responsibility of mine to stay on top of my game, to stay educated, to stay, sharp, so that when I'm blessed with a seat at those tables, that I could really speak in a way that folks will hear and speak the voice of the community for change. Okay. So the ACLU is good. They really honor those voices, and so it was. It's really good for me to be there. It's really good.
Okay. I also read on one of the articles they had up on you. They said that you just recently were the keynote address at San Marcos. You did the Black Students Union dinner, the annual dinner. How was that?
I did. That was a little while ago.
That was
I don't know. Is that in the Google? I don't know.
Yeah, I read about it.
Really, really fulfilling to talk to young Black people and to tell them the things that nobody told me. When I was at that age in college, just kind of feeling underrepresented, maybe that their voices aren't always being heard, being a smaller population in a larger school. So that is something that I really, really enjoy doing, because I just think back, and there's a couple of things someone would have spoke into me, probably, would have made some different decisions, or at least knew my worth at that time.
Okay, yeah.
And that's a struggle sometimes for us. And so that is very fulfilling. It's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of scattered with the questions, but I'm just getting to the juicy ones. How do you feel about Prop 10 with the rent control? Where do you stand with that?
So I am on the record as a supporter of Proposition 10.
Okay.
What the proposition will do is it won't do anything immediate. It lifts some current restrictions on the way we do rent control in California. And so then it would allow local jurisdictions to navigate their own housing markets and then put something on the books, and what I mean, make laws that have, that don't have those restrictions to them.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I am an advocate for rent control, just because, knowing, especially with people who, first of all, our seniors are affected heavily by landlords arbitrarily being able to raise rents, but also younger people coming back to San Diego who actually want to live here. It is just, our rent is really, really high in California, and in San Diego it's hard to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you feeling with all the gentrification going on right now in San Diego? I see that they're buying up a lot of things. They're pushing us to, a few different areas. I'm feeling like they're going to corner us to either El Cajon or City Heights, where there's a lot of apartment complexes. So
yeah.
How are you feeling about the gentrification taking place?
Well, I feel like this district has so much history to it, and so many people have sacrificed so much right here. There's some history that we don't, even know broadly about. And I don't want that to be lost. And that's what often comes with gentrification. I love this block. It needs major improvement. But just because we improve doesn't mean it should be a mechanism to push us out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that, it's hard. It's tough to see. There are some ways that we can try to mitigate it. Kind of stand up against it and really make sure that the character of this community stays the same. But we have to know that character. We have to know that history, and then be able to fight for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see that you're pushing the district-only elections.
Yes. So we already have district elections in the city of San Diego. That is one of the reasons why this campaign was able to win the primary, because we could talk to the voters, the District 4 voters who are directly affected by this leadership. And the school board is not like that right now. So the school board has citywide elections. So every single board member, every single trustee on the school board is elected by the entire city. So, that means that we often have trustees that are, people in La Jolla have as much of a say as we do about the trustee that is going to govern over our schools in this area. And I think that the district should be able to decide that alone.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I'm for district-only elections for the school board.
Okay. I just seen something on KUSI where they had a unanimous decision about all 9 districts coming to one agreement for the housing to end homeless, the housing solution to end homeless. What is your stance on that?
Well, there's a few things that have happened. I know that there is a resolution that has been passed to say that housing for the homeless needs to be in all districts in the city, which is very important. But I do believe that the only way to solve homelessness is really through housing, because housing brings a certain stability that then we can begin to navigate the other systems, the mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, workforce development, all of those things. But it's very, very, very hard to do without housing. It's very hard to receive assistance when you don't have a stable address, and so it's with us being the the county with the 4th highest population of homelessness in the nation. We really have a responsibility. I think it's immoral that the income gap is widening. There are a lot of homeless people that we don't see. There are, people that are living in their cars with their children and every day trying to find ways to hide the fact that that's their living situation right now from us. And the more we speak about it, the more I run into people that are in that very situation that I would never have known. And so we do have to ensure that people who need services are getting them, but we also have to change the narrative about who is homeless, because it is causing such a tension between who's housed and who's not housed. I like to call it the tension between the housed and the unhoused. And that does not lead to solutions. That leads to more finger pointing and more misconceptions about the issue. And when I talk about the homeless problem, I'm not talking about the people, because I think it's just immoral for us to be in the state where we are, where we talk about millions of dollars at the drop of a dime, but we have people just out on the streets with no place to be.
Okay. I read up on you as well, and I've seen that you're a chairman on many different committees and commissions and boards like RISE, the ABC Foundation, the Arts and Culture. Now let's say, let's hope for the best. She gets in that position. How do you plan to carry that over until City Council?
So I am very proud to be, a board member of many different community-based boards. As far as carrying that over, there are, provided we are successful on November 6th, there are certain conflicts that, you have to deal with. So some of those posts, probably I would have to resign from. But the idea behind this whole campaign and getting this seat is to build power. So it should be plenty of folks that we are building to be capable and available to sit on our boards in our communities. And so that is going to be a big part of what I do as a council member, also, not only boards in the communities, but also the boards and commissions that are overseen by the city. That we make sure that we have a pipeline of people with our interests that are serving on those boards, and ensure that the service is not in vain. So strengthening and giving more teeth to a lot of the boards at the city level.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot with the next one.
Okay.
I see you're an advocate, and you were a policy advisor for neighborhood revitalization, equal opportunity, criminal justice reform, community safety, public safety. If you had to pick one of those to focus on most, which one are you going to put your energy in?
Oh, goodness.
I got to give you a tough one. It can't be too easy.
Well, you know I'm a lawyer, so I can try to get out of it. Because we are not one, we're multifaceted people.
True.
It's not, every single day we deal with more than 5 issues, just in our own lives. So here's what I'll say. At City Council, there is not a criminal justice advocate, reform advocate. There's not. There are people that agree that, systems need to change, but there's no champion. So I definitely, that is, of utmost importance to me. And because it's something that our community suffers with, definitely. But I cannot speak about those things without speaking about economic justice. I can't. Because what I'm seeing even now is that we are passing, at the statewide level, we're passing all of the criminal justice reform measures, which is awesome. But then what do people do if we don't talk about ban the box? If we don't, which is, if I have a record, I probably won't be hired at this job. What do we do if people, I probably have a record, I've done my time, but there's nowhere for me to stay? Right. What? So we are passing these reforms, which are leading people back out to society with no place for people to grow and groom into that person that is contributing back to society. And so that's why I say the economic piece and the other things that we talk about are so important, because they're so intertwined. We can't really talk about one without the other. And I think that is where government has gone wrong.
Did you partake in the 182.5? I
did. That that really ignited that part of my life again, because I'll be honest.
Could we tell everybody what 182.5?
Yeah, so 182.5 is the California Penal Code section that focused on, it's like a conspiracy law. So what happens is there's a gang documentation list, and many times people are put on the list, mostly black male and Latinos, put on the list without really knowing they're on the list. And a person from a gang, according to police, can be arrested for any given thing, and anyone else on that list that is associated with that gang, whether they were there or not, is subject to being arrested based on that crime, whether they were there or not. And so that's 182.5. And a couple years ago, maybe about 3 years ago, our former district attorney decided to be the first person to try anyone under 182.5. And unfortunately, it were 33 young men that were arrested under this. Unfortunately, some of them took plea deals and are still in prison. Many of them did not, and it really reignited advocacy in San Diego around criminal justice issues.
Yeah, it affected some lives that we know in the Southeast. Some of the
Yep.
community leaders like Aaron and Alonzo Harvey.
Right.
Yeah, a bunch of guys.
Bunch of
Brandon
guys.
Tiny Do Duncan.
Yep.
You know, they all got swept up by that 182.5.
Yes.
Before we get out of here, I want to touch on a couple of the other props as well. So I just wanted to get your stance on Prop 8.
So I'm going to vote yes on Prop 8.
Okay.
I'm voting yes on Prop 8. I believe that it's so Prop 8 is with regard to the dialysis clinics and putting a cap on their profit, basically. That's what it's about, because what we're finding is that folks are continuing to pay more and more and more for these services and are not receiving a quality of service. And so I'm going to vote that there is a cap and that there is more regulation, but health is key. And, I don't want to be fooled by corporations who are making a whole lot of money off of the backs of sick people, so I will be voting yes on Prop 8.
Okay, and if I'm not wrong, Prop 6, they want to take money from public transportation, right? And they want to put that money towards fixing freeways and roads. Am I right?
So sort of. So Prop 6 is actually calling for Californians to repeal a gas tax that we already have. So a gas tax was passed by our state legislature about a year ago. And what that does is it increases what we pay for gas and puts that in a fund for roads and infrastructure. So so Prop 6 is, some call it a regressive tax. And what that means is it has more of a negative effect on low income people. Because it's just taxed, like at a flat rate. We're all paying the same amount of increase for our gas, no matter where you live, no matter what you earn. And so it naturally will have a more detrimental effect on low income individuals. So I have a few issues with the people that are saying no on Prop 6. The argument is, which I think are good arguments, is that these jobs with regard to infrastructure produce additional jobs. Or these projects with regard to infrastructure produce additional jobs. Our roads are unsafe. We really need this money in order to fix our roads. And you don't have to go far to know that our roads are messed up. So that's not at issue. But here's my issue with the tax. One is that I believe it is regressive. So that alone affects our families, because we're paying more and more for tax. But the other thing is that, I really would, we have to be taxed in order to live the way that we live, right? But it seems like communities like ours always get the brunt of that, or we don't get the best deal for our money, and so I have an issue with that. Also have an issue with our auditor has come out with, at the city of San Diego, things that we need to do to improve on the way that we conduct these projects within our own city, the money that we are wasting within our own city, the lack of monitoring these contractors that come in and do the work and do it in a lackluster way. So I really am uncomfortable with continuing to pay tax upon tax upon tax without there being any accountability on the other end of how our money is spent.
Right.
And so that is my problem. Like, if there were if there were requirements for, annual audits or something like that to kind of check the way that we're doing business and the way that we're conducting these projects, then I would be like, okay, that's fine, but just continue to put money, and when we're not holding our government entities accountable for the way that they're spending it, I have a problem with that. I want safe roads and jobs, and my dad owned a construction company, so that, for me, I understand it, but at the same time, I think that we can have improvement in the way that we spend our money. So that's how I feel about 6.
Okay. We're going to do one more question, and then we're going to take a couple questions from the audience. Like you, I'm a native. I remember the culture, the old days, how, the golden era of San Diego. Well, for me, like when we had Huffman's Barbecue, how Pop Warner games at any park in the 4th District was like a function, 500-600 black people, whatever race at Pop Warner games.
Yeah.
What do you plan to do to bring that camaraderie back in Southeast San Diego?
Well, listen, leadership is not everything, but it is very important. And I say this in response to your question because we can look at the current president and see how he's brought out people that were scared to come out before. Good, bad, or ugly. I don't agree with him, but we see how when people begin to feel comfortable with certain things, they act in that way. I think there's been intentional efforts to kind of break us down, right, as a community. And I think that it does start with leadership. And when I talk about building power, I talk about building that unity and that camaraderie again in our community. I don't think that we should live in a way where we're thinking about how we used to be. But I definitely think that we can create a new day. And it does start with the leader appreciating the people, and who we are and knowing the history. Without that,
right,
we won't ever have that again. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to take some questions from our audience now. We have a bunch of different social media outlets and newspapers and community leaders. So I'm going to start off with my brother right here in the front.
All right. Vincent Devon, San Diego Monitor News. In regards to maintaining the character you just spoke of during this media conference, how do you see yourself specifically supporting economic justice that impacts District 4 as City Councilwoman if you win the election?
Yeah. So I have a couple of ideas. One is with regard to, I'll just focus on small business to answer your question. One is utilizing what we already have, right? So here's what I mean when I say that. Here's another statistic for you at the city. We do have a small business incentive program, right? Over the past 5 years, it has served over 200 businesses in the city of San Diego. None of them have been in District 4, not one, 0. Why is that important? Because regardless, we all have to pay taxes, right? And we're paying for these programs to not benefit us. So yes, there are new ideas, there are things that we can do, but there are also things that we have been paying for that we need to go back and assess those again and ensure that assistance is coming into our community. Another thing is we, as a city, are supposed to provide technical assistance for small businesses. What do I mean by that? We oftentimes create a lot of red tape for businesses. Sometimes it's justifiable, sometimes it's ridiculous, but we oftentimes do that without creating a formal way to help businesses get through that red tape. So that's when I say technical assistance, and not just going someplace and learning how to fill out a form. I mean, really having people who are guiding us through some of the areas where we just need that assistance, accounting, human resources, that type of thing, payroll, in order to get us off of our feet and into being successful businesses. The last thing I'll say is capital. there are a lot of programs that help those who already have a little bit. And if there is a way that we could set up funding via the city for businesses to be able to use to get other loans or to get other funding streams, that would be very ideal, because capital, you can have the best idea, you can even have the structure, but without capital, it's just really hard to move forward. And based on the way that our businesses have, unfortunately, the lack of funding that has occurred in our own communities, then these would be ideal things for us to do. We also, like, for example, infrastructure is important when you're talking about business. Look at Imperial. You know, it's hard to park. So if we were even to make this what I like to, my dream is a legacy walk, or something that incorporates arts, culture, and history. If we were to make this street out of that, we would have to redesign so that it would be a bit more comfortable for people to come and enjoy. So all of those different things, you know, and I'm open to more ideas, but we definitely need to tap into what we already have, and then, you know, find ways to create capital for our small businesses starting off.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We got KBLK in the back. KBLK Radio.
Good evening, Monica.
Good evening.
You touched on the legacy piece. Back in the early 1990s, we had a multitude of events in District 4. We had the ever famous or popular Encanto Street Fair. At one point, we were getting about 100,000 people on a one-day event, ranging from 60th and Imperial Avenue to 68th.
Mm-hmm.
We had the Gold Coast Classic Parade. We had the Dr. Martin Luther King Parade.
Mm-hmm.
We had the Heritage Day parades. There seems to be a disconnect downtown with CDBG money, Community Development Block grants, various community enhancement grants, and as you said, we're not getting that money. And then one of the other things that I noticed is, correct me if I'm wrong, that the budget for the current city councilwoman is probably one of the lowest of all the districts, and how that money is being put out and given. What's your stance on that, and how could you possibly correct that if you get in office?
Yeah, so first to the events that we used to have in our community that are no longer here. I feel that the events used to nurture and flourish our community. And now that they have been taken out, then many of the resources have been taken out with them. So I would love to bring the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade back to District 4.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. Definitely can't happen in 2019 because we're being sworn in, hopefully, you know, the end of this year. But have really been looking into different ways to be able to do that over the long term, because it brings us together, camaraderie, but it brings other people also into the district, which means, you know, just more flow of money for us. And so that's definitely something that we'll be looking into. With regard to the block development grants that you're talking about.
District budgets.
So district budgets, yeah, I mean, that I don't know about the district budgets being too much different. It should be the opposite, because my opponent is the council president. What I do know is that the budget as a whole, we are under-resourced, right? So I can't verify that, and I can't deny what you say. But overall, we have to be able to understand the budget process, ask the right questions to get where we need to be at the city, you know. And when I say we, I mean the representative.
Understood.
You know, we're sitting there, we need to be able to understand what is going on, which is whatever we don't get goes to another district. That's just, and we have to stop settling for a project here and there, but consistent services in our community, and consistent attention to the issues that we have. And so definitely that's my number one priority, that we receive what we deserve, that the community has a voice at City Hall. That's why I'm running. And just real quick on the block grants, that is another situation where we have provided more red tape for that process, and it has changed over the years. And oftentimes, organizations that used to receive that funding in the way that we used to apply for that funding are not receiving it. That's where the technical assistance also comes in, for our community to be informed about the different changes that are going on.
You mentioned the Arts and Culture Commission. Are they still in control of that Arts and Culture Commission money that's normally released around the city, like the Adams Avenue Street Fair and North Park Street Fair?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
Thank you.
I have a question
Yes.
about, and for me, I'm a media person, but I'm also a nurse. So, I have a question about Proposition 8, and I have challenged people on Proposition 8. I just wanted to know if there will be, last night you guys did an education, a teaching on all the propositions, and what a yes or a no meant on each proposition.
Right.
I wanted to know if one day you guys could maybe do a teaching on Prop 8, because I think that my perspective may be a little warped, because I keep hearing everybody say they're voting yes on Prop 8, and my perspective was no, but I think that it's because I'm missing something.
Well, let me go back to last night. The reason why, so Genevieve Jones-Wright and I hosted a community voter education forum. We did not provide our opinions.
Right.
We invited people who were behind the measures and the propositions, and they went back and forth, and the community asked them questions. So I said that to say, if you see it differently and have a perspective that's different, we can always talk about that, or we, at the very least, can agree to disagree. From what I've read up on it, and from my knowledge of the way corporations control narratives and contribute to campaigns, that's my perspective, is not necessarily of a nurse or of someone in the medical field, but it is someone who is politically engaged in a way where those are the things that I look at, and so the way that I'm voting is not the way everyone's going to vote.
Absolutely.
Based on our different perspective. But from what I've read, that's how I'm going to vote on it. So I don't think we'll be able to do anything on Prop 8.
Will there be another teaching?
Not before this election. Yeah, we're 12 days out now, and we will consistently have that forum, because it was awesome for people to come into our community and hear from our community.
Absolutely.
About issues that are affecting us.
One more question.
Yes.
Were there people from other districts at the teaching last night?
Yes, I did see people from other districts. Because it was based on the propositions and the measures, which are citywide, countywide, and then statewide. Yeah.
Thank you.
We do my brother from Futuristic Music Group.
Hello.
First question, did you like the Hip Hop 5K this past weekend?
Oh, yes, I loved it. I stayed, I was there in the morning, 7. I didn't run. I'm trying to save my energy for walking every day. Yes. And there's a lot of hills in District 4. But it was amazing. There were so many people out, and so many people excited about our health. Yes. And then the warm-up was fun. Yes. I thought it was amazing.
Thank you. And my second question is, we have the I call it genocide, the war that's going on in the streets, the undertone. Everybody want to have big events. They want to come together, but they know that we have an issue going on with these two communities. Do you have a plan that you're going to institute that, you know, that's going to dump, I guess you say, resources and work into these young people so we can maybe get back on the path of, brother said, having the cattle fairs and all that peacefully?
Yeah. For sure. Part of my plan includes we have to, and this is something that I really was able to experience at the ACLU more than ever. But we have to, people that have been through it, you know, people that are maybe former gang members or have experience
Yes.
are the best ones
Yes.
to help with the solution. And I'm okay to say, look, I'm going to provide the resources. I think that's what my job is. But I'm not the best one
Yes.
for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that part of the plan is to include impacted people at the table when we're talking about these solutions.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody better
Right.
than to bring the solutions forward.
For sure.
Yeah. So yes, for sure. And the people at the grassroots level are the people that are doing the work. So the organizations that we hear so much about oftentimes that kind of get most of the funding, I think that the council office should be used to fund people that are making the changes and the results and doing the work.
There you go. Okay, thank you.
Grooving You Radio.
Brian Gooden from GroovingYou.com,
Hello,
Internet
Brian.
Radio. And I'm a native of San Diego, born and raised in this district. And I'm also a combat veteran of the United States Navy. And my question to you is, what is the biggest oversight of your opponent in regards to this district? Or neglect?
Okay, I got your question. Well, I think that I have to go back to the core of why I'm running. The biggest oversight and the biggest neglect is simply not paying attention to the people that voted her in. That is the biggest mistake in my mind that any elected official can make, but especially on a local level. We have buildings going up. We're not the builders. We have police officers telling our residents that when they call and complain about something, well, you should just move because that's just the way it is here. But when you have a leader saying that black people deserve to be profiled because they commit the crimes, there is no accountability for adhering to and listening to the voice of the people. And so there's many different little technical things we could say, but I think the mentality of listening to the community and knowing that a representative is at City Hall to provide that voice and to get those resources. If there's not an understanding of that, then there is no leader for the community.
Young lady on the back, what network are you here on behalf?
Living Beyond the Hustle.
Living Beyond the Hustle.
Yeah. So my question is, the County of San Diego has focused on providing a ridiculous amount of money to anti-human sex trafficking for people outside of District 4 when 9 out of 10 individuals are affected from our district. Do you have any ideas to change this?
Yeah, I mean, you said county, which is very important because we have to acknowledge that I'll be at the city. But many of these issues that we deal with do require a regional approach. So there will not be things that I can directly vote on, but there will be boards possibly that I could sit on. City council members have a lot of power if they use it in the right way to call attention to things like that, especially when they're directly affecting the people of the district. And so while formally probably won't be able to do anything to directly move resources around, I definitely can raise a lot of hell. So.
Bravo.
With a smile.
Have any more questions?
I have one. Hi, Monica. So I have a question. There's been a real big focus due to some campaigns that are happening, or some previous campaigns that we spoke about before. There's been a hyper focus on this human sex trafficking thing to help people get into office. But with that, there's been huge indictments happening to black and brown communities, especially our men, where they're being arrested in huge numbers, and things and narratives are being painted that don't really fit our community. And so I just wanted to know what your stance was on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to when we talk about directing resources to the people that can solve the problems that have had real life experience. I think we talked a little bit about that. Also, giving insight that elected officials may not know about the programs that are going on at the city, right? City attorney has a program. They come to public safety livable neighborhoods once every year or once every 6 months. And they say, we're doing great. And this is what's going on. Meanwhile, our community members are telling us this program is not great at all, and are using other words to describe the program, right?
Right.
So I think that impacted people being a part of making those curriculums and providing that perspective, like, hey, these are young men. This is how oftentimes they're led into the life, and these are the things that we can do to either prevent that or intervene. You know, we need that expertise at the table. In my mind, it's an expertise, right? And so those are the things at the city level we can definitely do. And all the city council offices is a voice for the people. So I know you have a lot of clout. If there's something that you are having trouble getting through, you know, that's what the office is for. It's to use it as a voice of the people.
One last quick question. As a former commissioner for the county board of supervisors, will you be releasing the positions available for various boards through your office?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, I think that releasing those is very important. I think that partnering with some of the institutes now that we have that are preparing people to have the best impact on those boards. I'm really looking for impact and for results. It's great when black people serve on boards. But if we are not knowledgeable enough to where we are silenced and are not really making that impact, and the other side can say, hey, there's a black face in the picture, you know, that's not impactful. So we are looking to keep those postings up, but also to help in whatever way we can to prime people to be ready for when they enter those rooms.
Thank you.
My name is Eric Porter, and I grew up in this neighborhood right up the hill. And I'm not a veteran like Brian. What's going on, B? But my question is this. I've watched systematically, and I've run one of the larger solar companies here, and I've systematically had to go heads up with the big construction companies, only for them to have secret meetings through the city where we can't get into this bidding process. Now, how can we rectify this? Because this right down the street, we're half a block away. They might have Mexican laborers, but there's not one black construction company up there, not one black super. There will be no black solar going up there. Now, I've been systematically one of the main guys taking the 4th District green. And when I was north of the 56, I brought the funding south and had to create my own company to keep the job going. So I need help. So my thing is, I know your dad. I know your brother. So I need you to fight for us so we can get more business, so we can hire some of these young guys. We got talent.
Yeah.
But they're cutting our legs out with this bidding process. And the economics has shifted because old man Spikes is gone. Your dad's left. We got to keep him going. I mean,
it's hard.
It's hard. So I really want to support you, but I need you to help support us and get some of this funding back over here so we can do our job.
Yeah.
BCA needs help.
Yeah.
They couldn't do enough. You see it still. They invaded Encanto. It's invasion.
Yeah.
I call it that. It's pretty much what it is. So I support you, but I definitely will be one of the main ones. Hey, what we gonna do?
Yeah.
How we gonna do it? I don't need a whole bunch of them. I just need a little bit.
Well, don't even say that, because we need a whole bunch. But I hear you. I know, but I know what you're saying, and the point is that many other people get help to be in the position where they need to be, right? So we are not turning away help, because we all put money in that pot in order to get help when we need it.
The problem is, Monica, though, you put money in that pot, there's so many red strings and cords and cables trying to get it back out. You'd rather leave it alone and find your own.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I definitely understand that too. And we'll be using, I will be using my expertise in policy to try to cut some of that down for our small businesses. But where we can't, when we do need that assistance, it needs to be available for us, is what I'm saying. Right. And you know that I know firsthand, what the result of not having an advocate there in that seat is for us, because I've lived it through my father. And so, again, a lot of it is taking advantage of what is already there and ensuring that we do receive contracts. We are a part of the bidding process, a fair bidding process. But overall, there has to be that leadership, that fight, and that mentality there at that seat, and understanding of the struggle. And I've got that. I know that. Yeah.
All right, guys. I think that. Oh, we got another question.
I have a question.
Yes.
Jason Green from Yaz Entertainment. My daughter from San Diego Teenage News. I have two questions. My first question is, do you support either of the plans on the November ballot that will sell the Mission Valley Stadium? Why?
Okay.
Why not?
First of all, thank you for being there last night and taking those pictures. I don't support either one of the plans. I think that they're both bad for taxpayers. I think there are way too many unknowns. And I also believe that some things, especially when it comes to land use and the complexity of land use regulations in California, don't always need to go to the ballot box. It's too much. There's too many unknowns with both plans. It's millionaires fighting each other right now.
Second question is on behalf of my daughter. She has a up-and-coming media company, San Diego Teenage News. She's also an ASB, and she started noticing the similarities of ASB and, I think, city politics. Mm-hmm. And she was wondering, because she goes to a school with like 0.3% African-American young ladies, she was wondering, is there any plans for the children, maybe possibly getting groups, media groups, teaching young ladies how to do either media, how to run, or the logistics of running, the things that the community cares about, maybe start in their school ASB system?
Yeah, well, I don't know the school. I am going to be focused on the district with this seat and the resources from this seat, so I have to be upfront about that. But I think that even things like what we're doing right now that I haven't really seen in our community in a long time is a start. There are organizations that are focused on youth and media and music that I think we can collaborate with and be plugged in together. I'm totally down for that. I think this is awesome. I think this is a great start to make me aware of all of the media companies that we have, that can be focused on our issues and pushing our issues out there. So yes, I'm available.
Brian Good once again. On that note, my brother Tayati has KBLK Radio, which is geared towards youngsters and the media coverage and educating them on how to do these things. I would really like to see you support causes like what he's bringing forth, and as well as we know, those of us that are native San Diegans and have listened to 92.5 over the years understand that today they still play our music, but they don't hire us, and they don't support this community. So I would really like to see some support towards all of us that are in here with these media outlets and getting the word out to our people to be hired and anything else that would be of good news for them.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm in agreement with you. There's nothing much more to say than I agree with you, and I understand and I see the things that you are seeing. And I am grateful that we are taking it into our own hands even now, of telling our own story. And it's very, very important, because if we don't, someone else will tell our story. You know, so what you do is very, very important. So.
Okay, guys, before we get out of here, I just want to drop one more jewel. As many of you know, that to register to vote, the cutoff date was yesterday. But with further research, we found out that you can still register to vote. You just have to go down to the county registrar's office on or before election day, and your vote is still count. And then they have the office located at 5600 Overland Drive. If any of you guys missed the cutoff date for voting, which was yesterday, you can still do that now or up until election day. And that's going to conclude our press conference. Can we all just gather for pictures? And then everybody, we're all set.
Thank you, everyone.
This segment has been brought to you by GoHAMradio.com.